let's kind of talk basketball for a second. That's right. LSU men's basketball has done something really interesting. They've brought back former LSU coach Will Wade. Will Wade's reunion with LSU makes sense for everyone. And this is shout out to Les East of Crescent City Sports. That's one of the local units that come out with really great articles. Y'all check them out. And this is what Les had to say about LSU making a move to bring Coach Wade back. Now, I was working on putting a show together to talk about LSU basketball, right? Because I'm gonna talk about the LSU Lady Tigers in just a second. But what's really interesting about it is the standard that LSU women have set that the men have failed to live up to. We have not seen that. Over the last several years, we've seen folly and failure from McMahon. And I knew eventually I was going to ask the question, why we still have this guy? We've seen coaches like Hubert Davis that was running North Carolina get fired. I mean, really good coaches that got the team to the tournament that's getting fired. I'm like, why don't we reach outside of the pool and see if we can find some of these really good coaches? Our team can't even sniff it. We can't even get nowhere near that. We're not even relevant from the men's basketball side of things. When can we get an opportunity to get one of these type of coaches? And right when I was putting the information together to do a show, this came out that Will Wade. And I heard rumors that the LSU was talking to Will Wade, and Will Wade issued a statement saying that he's happy being at North Carolina State. I think it was North Carolina State. Wherever it was, it doesn't matter because he's LSU now. But the bottom line is they were mentioning that and talking about that, and then behold, boom, here's Will Wade, man, and he's coming back. And I'm gonna do it like this before I even get to this article. It was just hearing what some other people were saying about LSU, like what USA Today had put out, talking about a scoundrel returns. Will LSU's Will Wade come back why LSU comeback makes perfect sense. A scoundrel returns, as they called the man, right? So it's very interesting. It says, my first question is Will Wade bringing the boombox with him to LSU? My second question, does LSU possesses no scruples at all? Never mind. I know the answer, all this kind of stuff. Wade, Lane, Kim Mulkey, walk it to where I can't figure the punchline of that joke and all this kind of stuff. So it's just, he mentioned vaudeville and stuff like that. And it's just, considering LSU is spending money for some of these people, these naysayers. They will button their lips once LSU starts winning. Kim Mulkey just took the LSU Lady Tigers, shout out to them, to the Sweet 16. That is an accomplishment. There are a lot of tough teams there, and they lost on a last-minute shot by Duke. A last-minute shot that could have went either way. They could have been playing in the Elite Eight. But the reality is they lost at a last-minute shot by Duke. So Kim Mulkey should be celebrated. Her teams are really good. She consistently brings in top talent, and they're relevant, and she deserves the money she gets, because LSU women, the Lady Tigers, are always in the conversation. When you talk about the men, that hasn't been something since we've seen Will Wade leave. Now, there was some stuff that happened with Will Wade that he did, but the man paid for that. He paid for that. He got fired. He lost his job. And then he had to wait and then ultimately work his way back up again. And if LSU felt like, hey, man, the man paid his dues. He was doing stuff, and we know what Will Wade was doing. Some of the stuff he was doing is now illegal now. So at the end of the day, it is just one of these situations, man, where Will Wade comes back into the fold. And it is simply a interesting look for LSU. Now, let's get right into this article right here, away from the one that called the man a scoundrel. LSU's hiring Will Wade from North Carolina State to be its men's basketball coach for 4 years. And 2 weeks after firing him as the men's basketball coach might seem like March Madness. But the improbable reunion of the university, which dismissed the successful and popular Wade after his rule-breaking brought significant NCAA sanctions on the program, and the coach who was arrogant and defiant during his ugly departure, does make sense for everyone involved. Do tell, the Tigers needed a new coach capable of returning a moribund program to the level it achieved under Wade from 2017 and 2022, when he won 2/3 of his games, won SEC regular season title, and earned 3 trips to the NCAA tournament. LSU slipped badly under Matt McMahon. He was 60-70 overall record and a miserable stinking 17-55 SEC record. Who would have retained his position and had to deal with Wade not been struck, right? We've been forced to have another season under this pitiful Matt McMahon. At first, when he came, we talked about the team having to rebuild and recruit, but he's been here for 4 years, couldn't recruit to save his life. Not only were the Tigers uncompetitive in the SEC under McMahon, who was hamstrung to a large degree because of the Wade sanctions, which is true, they were lagging far behind the women's basketball program and the gymnastics program in terms of success and the popularity as residents of the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. When LSU went into search of Wade's successor, they wound up with McMahon, who had done a fine job at a mid-major like Murray State, partly because of more accomplished coaches weren't interested in cleaning up Wade's mess. 4 years later, the job of coaching the Tigers didn't figure to be much more attractive than most attractive candidates. Any other coach exploring the market would have a one-loss resume of comparable quality of Wade's likely would not have found LSU last in the SEC this season more alluring than the current position or potential suitors. But Wade was different. In his letter announcing his return to Baton Rouge, Wade called the reunion deeply personal and a chance to go home. And he no doubt will feel at home right away, not just because he called Baton Rouge home for 5 years in the recent past, but also because of the folks who brought him back. The principal power brokers at LSU when Wade was fired was President William F. Tate and Athletic Director Scott Woodard, who all those guys are gone. So Tate was replaced by Wade Rousey, who was plucked by Governor Landry from McNeese, which allowed Wade to restart his coaching career after his one-season hiatus. Woodard was replaced last year by longtime associate AD Verge Osbury, and early this week the Tigers named Heath Schroyer, Wade's boss at McNeese, Senior Deputy Director of Athletics. So 2 years ago, after Wade guided the Cowboys to a historic season, including a Southland Conference title, he told Crescent City Sports McNeese needed to reboot the program. I needed to reboot my career. That's why it worked. LSU program is now in need of a reboot, and though Wade's career has not risen, like a Phoenix restoring LSU program would be the 43-year-old's biggest accomplishment to date. The fact that Wade's transgression of paying to get players is now legal, in fact required if one wants to be successful, and doesn't forgive Wade for his past lawless behavior, but it's largely irrelevant to his second tenure with the Tigers, which is exactly my point earlier in the broadcast. He was doing, which was illegal, paying players. Now the NIL here, it became, I'm not justifying it, but it's really kind of funny that not what he was doing them time ago to cost him his job, it's now illegal. It's like being Elliot Ness. I'm old, I like old mobster movies and sitcoms. So the way to beat Elliot Ness as your mob is that eventually you get your daughters and your sons to go through law school, and they grow up and you train them. They become politicians and judges and all this kind of stuff. And they just change the law and make Elliot Ness irrelevant from forcing the law. So if you are a guy that follows the law, guess what? Drinking is legal now. Gambling is legal now. So what you going to do now? You work for us. So it's something similar to that insofar as the program has changed, and now he paid for his transgressions. He got fired, and now what he got caught up with is not legal. That's crazy work, but it's simply what it is in college sports right now. So let's get to it. LSU made the commitment to restore its program to national relevance, and Wade, who left McNeese after the last season to join NC State, which led to the NCAA Tournament, first 4 before losing to Texas, was the best coach the Tigers could have attracted. His hiring was generated immediate enthusiasm, as demonstrated by hundreds of commitments for new season tickets. Wade's ability to generate new revenue is as important in short term as his ability to generate new levels of winning. When Wade's first season at McNeese State was still underway, Schroyer ripped up his contract and gave him a new one with a substantial raise, because the program already had generated more than 5 times the revenue that was produced the previous year. LSU bringing Wade back back, requiring a $4 million buyout to North Carolina, paying North Carolina State, paying the more than $8 million owed to McMahon, coaching, committing $30 million over 7 years to Wade on top of the $54 million buyout of former football coach Brian Kelly a few months back, and the $91 million over 7 years for Lane Kiffin to replace Kelly, along with millions added to NIL money to lure both to the new coaches. This is the state of college football, which I'm not saying is good or bad. The reality is this is the new landscape. LSU is not fighting and saying, hey, we're traditional, we're going to be this, that, and the third. No. They're pivoting and saying, if this is the current landscape of college football, then we are going to dominate and master it, while other people are complaining about how much money that LSU is generating. LSU is a very rich college. Texas is super rich as well. They make a lot of money at that college, especially through the athletics department. The boosters are extremely wealthy. So at the same time, LSU has a vested interest in winning. We've played the game the other way. Now we know to get a good team, to get good coaches, guess what? You have to pay for them. That's life. If you want people that are going to take your program to another level, then you have to pay them. When we know where Will Wade comes, he's going to recruit the hell out of them. He's going to build the program up, and they're going to be respected. That's one thing I know about Will Wade. So it was a very interesting formula that they worked to come here, but it's showing across the board, whether it's LSU football, whether it's LSU basketball for the men or ladies, or baseball, gymnastics, whatever it is, LSU has an intention to dominate in the SEC. And as a major supporter of LSU sports, I concur with that, because we are winners, and that's what we know what we need to do to win. Amen. Hit the like button. LSU bringing back Wade required that $4 million. They're willing to commit that. Meanwhile, Kiffin has just begun his first spring practice, and LSU's faithful have their sights set on a trip to the college football playoff. Now, listen. We know the first step to it, the floor of this with Lane Kiffin, him coming here and having all of that talent, having all of his coaches. We know once they finally round things out, this team, with all of the talent that they brought in, they've severely upgraded the offensive line for LSU. Big time through the transfer portal, the NIL money. They recruited really well in the 2026 class. That's going to add to the veterans that we currently have on the team. LSU team will be one of the best teams in the SEC. Yes, it will be. And as a result, and I'm talking about football wise, the floor for them is the SEC championship. They will win. They have to win the SEC championship, which will give them an opportunity to play in the CFP. That's what it comes down to. So all LSU has to focus on, one game approach and win SEC championship. I know it sounds easy, but with the talent and coaches and everything LSU's added to their team, you can see what that's going to be, right? As far as I can see it. Now, Kiffin arrived at Ole Miss 6 years ago to try to stabilize a career that included 5 previous jobs in 10 seasons, much as Wade seeks stability as he begins his 5th stop in 5 years. The football coach often said he needed Ole Miss more than Ole Miss needed me. As he returned to Rebels, he turned them to Rebels to the national prominence in the trip to the CFP last season. The 2-1 record in the CFP coming after he relocated to Baton Rouge. Now, I'm going to just add this little giblet in that information. Was if it wasn't for that dumb Ole Miss athletic director, Keith Carter, or whatever his name is, if he had not gotten in his emotions and tried to stop Lane Kiffin, he could have let Lane Kiffin coach the rest of the season. I promise you, at the very least, they would have probably been playing for the college football championship. He the one that decided, no, you don't want to be the coach, you get your ass out, or no. If you would have let him go, you would have spared all of this having to use his coaching staff. That guy didn't think about none of that. But at the end of the day, they're going to sit up here and be mad at Lane Kiffin for that when that stupid AD made that terrible decision. Do what's best for the program. You know he's going to leave. You can't keep him there. Let the man coach out the string, then let him leave. But they, like I said, I think they would have got all the way to the top, but that's their stupid failure in the end. The football coach often said he needed Ole Miss more. That's just spill. In this case, LSU needed Wade at least as much as the coach needed his reunion, but both got what they needed. It makes sense according to the writer. Well said. Very thorough article as well to the writer, Les East. Thank you for this wonderful article, because it just basically pinned everything that I felt about this. And of course, You see all these people online saying, oh, this is terrible. Oh, you're going to let this guy come back. Okay, the guy got caught paying players, something that's legal now. So, yeah, he got fired for that. And he had to work his way back up the string again, right? He had his redemption arc, and he's back to LSU where he has unfinished business. That's my stake on it. Now, for anybody out there that did some shit and then got, that paid for it, you don't want to be your transgressions to be thrown in your face over and over again. If he did his time or he paid his costs, he got fired, let the man live. Let him make it. That's all I got to say about it. God damn it. All right, hit the like button, man. We up in this thing, man. Shout out to you guys as we keep the thing going.